Yeah, the connection between sin and suffering. So I think the simplest way to put it would be to really say that the reason why suffering exists is because of sin. I like to think of it as because of the reality of the presence of sin in the world and in us, suffering, difficulty, hardship, pain, and toil is inevitable. Suffering is inevitable. It's part of the human experience, and I think we see this right out the gate in Genesis 3 when Adam and Eve fell. It's why death exists. So death was one of the consequences of Adam's sin, and but God cursed the ground as well, and so difficulty and hardship in our labor was going to be part of the consequence of the sin. And now that sin's in the world and sin is in us. And so the reality of the presence of sin in the world and in us is why there's suffering and the suffering experience. But just sort of by way of caution, one thing that I know can get easily misconstrued when I say something like that is that anytime somebody is suffering, it's because they sinned in some way. Right? And while that might be the case in some cases, it's certainly not true in all cases. Just from a personal example out of everyday life, my wife, she had cancer when she was 2 years old, and she didn't sin and get the cancer. Her parents didn't sin and get the cancer in some way. And even Jesus. So Jesus and his disciples are trying to work this same kind of question out. What's the connection between sin and suffering? I think it's in John 9. You look at basically Jesus and his disciples walking along, and they see a blind man, and so they ask him, this guy was born blind. Was it because he sinned, or was it because his parents sinned? And Jesus, very wisely and obviously rightly, points out that it wasn't because of any sin that any of them did, either him or his parents, but he's blind, essentially blind, because he would be the means by which God would display his work in him, in his blindness, in his suffering. And so there is a certain element which, suffering comes into our life that's totally and absolutely under the purview of God's control and his sovereign design and ordination in your life. Just like my wife's cancer, she'll tell you today, right now, if you're asking her, God gave me the cancer. And he obviously provided a way out, and he healed her from that. But the connection to it all, though, so suffering and disease and blindness and those sorts of things, but those are why those things exist, is because of sin in the world, and it's just all part of the effects of the fall. Hey there, did you like this video? If you did, please comment, rate, and share this video with someone you think might benefit from it. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and hit the alarm bell so you'll be notified next time I upload new content. Thank you so much for listening today. I look forward to connecting with you next time. Until then, talk to you soon. Bye.